Hello and good evening. It has been about 20 years since Star Trek Enterprise Season 3, Episode 3, Extinction aired.
20 years?
That's right, Trip Tucker. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast for yet another review of a Star Trek Enterprise episode. I'm not Jody Simpson. He has something else going on tonight. He didn't really say what it was, but it must be important because I'm Dave Mader here filling in. And I've, of course, got the long-standing co-host with me, Adam Woodward.
Hey, Dave.
Coming to us
from airport in Vancouver right now. You can see
yes.
planes behind me.
Oh, yeah. Verified. You are in an airport. I can confirm.
Yep.
All those people are famous now. Especially that guy disrobing behind you.
Yeah, well, he's got a mask on, so it's okay. And, of course, we got the guy who would steal the egg full of larvae from you, but then would, get some back. It's Kevin Millard. How you doing today, Kevin?
I'm good.
I just made that up on the fly. That wasn't really prepared. I'm not as good at this as Jody with his little tribes of the episode. But this is Extinction, and I'd never watched this episode before, and but those who had warned us it wouldn't be that enjoyable. That it was not a highlight of Enterprise's third season. And I can't say I fully disagree. Although I didn't hate this episode either. So let's go to you, Kevin. What do you think about Extinction?
I was enjoying it until, again, the end, where it just ends without any resolution. It's like they just walk on the bridge and they're fixed. Like, great. That's great.
I'm going to agree with you on that because I actually checked the time. How much time do we have left in this episode? And I had 8 minutes. I go, man, they got a lot of resolution to do here in 8 minutes.
And they just decided not to.
And they spent a lot of time just like clicking and being in the forest jungle kind of.
I liked that. I liked all.
I didn't mind it, but it was a lot of it. And I'm like, if you're gonna want more resolution, maybe do more with this story, because they're trying to do this serialized story in this season 3 with the Xindi arc, and this is just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't quite fit.
Yeah, but it's Star Trek. You're gonna get that. I mean, there's lots of episodes of Deep Space Nine that don't fit.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad start. I mean, it was interesting how they got there, and I guess there was a lot of questions. I mean, how do we open, Dave? We had the opening scene where there was on a jungle in the dark again.
Guy running through the forest. Somebody we don't know. We get a little glimpse of him here, but this is not somebody we're supposed to know. So I'm watching it, and then these guys in suits with green lights on them are kind of stalking this person through the forest, jungle, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. The guy falls over, and
horrible death.
Yeah, and they just hit him with the flamethrowers. Really,
it's like no mercy, just burn them to death. My God.
Yeah, even their own people later on.
Yeah, even their own guy. He's like in the process, and they're just like, nope. And I'm like,
I wonder how he feels about that after being given a cure after, a few hours after killing his friend.
Probably not great, The other thing too is I'm like, why do I got some questions about these aliens who felt like it was their need to eradicate the infection and stuff like that. I'm like, well, then why don't they just destroy the planet if they're really afraid of this disease so much? I don't really get that part. Or if their friend got infected, why don't they just leave him to live out the rest of his life on this planet?
Right. Like, why don't they just let people live on the planet and not leave?
Or why leave the planet intact and kill everybody who gets this thing? Because you can't get off the planet. I don't think they're going to invent a spaceship. These infected. And start infecting other plants. Maybe I'm wrong, but
that was a good question. I mean, there was really no explanation to why they are there and who's on the planet. Like, you can understand the Enterprise crew getting there because they're curious, and there was no warnings, which is odd too. Like, if you have a planet under quarantine, wouldn't you put up, some kind of probes or something that warns people off, saying, "Hey, don't go here."
Yeah, well, that's kind of what Trip says. This wasn't very well marked. You could have like left a buoy or something in orbit. Yeah, okay. Comments here in the live stream from our good friend Sam. Is Davan coming on tonight? We believe he will be making an appearance after X-Men. Yes. Adam does have to get out of here before his flight takes off. That is another question. When is your flight?
My flight is at 6:10, whatever
Which
time
is-
I'm on, Pacific time. So 9:10. So I have to board at 22.
Right. So we have about 30 minutes left here to kind of run through the episode. It's not like there's a ton to get through. It's not, there wasn't a ton of dialogue, and and some of it was in a language we couldn't understand. And yes, Sam, we know your birthday's coming up on Sunday, and we're very excited for you. I don't think Jody and Adam singing happy birthday to you is in the cards, but who am I to say?
I'm not going to
So-
sing, Sam. I'm not going to sing, but listen, have a very happy, heartfelt birthday from everybody here.
Yeah. From the West Coast all the way to the East Coast, Sam. All right. Heading through in the episode after the credits on this Star Trek Enterprise episode, we get another aromatherapy session here with T'Pol and Trip back in her her pajamas, her Vulcan pajamas, that are, guys, like these are sexy pajamas. Like these are not they don't seem very Vulcan. I gotta say again, but
I was enjoying this scene. You know,
well, who can blame you? But you know, it's yeah, he brings her peaches to eat as a thank you or something like that, because I think he's late for this, and it's like if you don't know, T'Pol is at this point giving Trip massages or whatever to help him sleep because he's stressed out after the attack
Vulcan
on Earth.
neuropressure.
Vulcan neuropressure, yes, which just seems like massages to me, but whatever. He brings her a peach. Remember, Vulcans don't like eating with their hands, so this is, she's come a ways here to Paul, taking a big bite, and she says, well, this does not make up for your tardiness or whatever. So, but she goes with it, and then he she wants him to like take off his shoes here, and well, my feet are stinky, and your Vulcan nose is gonna go like it. I didn't shower.
I wish they would have not done that scene. They could have just moved on.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to, because they're trying to set up the romance up here with these two, and and build this kind of slowly, but create this sexual tension from them. This is her smelling his feet, I think. Here, that's the look I think she's giving it,
and liking what she's smelling.
Yeah. Also mentioning that LeVar Burton directed this episode, guys. And what all I've come to after watching enough of these Star Trek episodes and reviewing them and talking about them, LeVar Burton has directed some amazing episodes of Star Trek, and he's directed some really bad episodes of Star Trek. And I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to the director, but
it's like he actually just directed his own episode back in Next Gen when he was transformed into something.
Yeah, right.
On a planet.
Yes, and good part. This is like a lot like the episode where everyone got like devolved on the Enterprise into.
But there was also one where he was on a planet and he was into some kind of reptilian or something. Remember that?
When who was?
Jody.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. He was. He had been infected by that other mutagenic virus like years earlier, and it was sort of activated.
Yeah, and there's a Voyager episode like this, right? But I love these. Star Trek keep doing these. Just do them well.
Miri.
Right.
Yeah.
There's lots of episodes where the crew gets turned into an alien or a monster, and if we don't reverse it soon enough, it's going to be permanent. And this is no different. So, she's doing like the massages on him here. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else of substance in this scene. I don't think so. It just then it turns into she gets a call from Archer. Meet me in the command center. We got to head to the command center, and not Trip, I guess. As we know, Archer is in stressed out mode right now. He's got the weight of Earth on his shoulders, and he's trying to figure it out. We saw him absorbing the Xindi database last time we saw him. So in this command center, and he shows here to Paul that he's learned about the Xindi arboreal, the tree living Xindis, similar to sloths on Earth. And
Dave, they've also I think they called out. They know of 3 species now.
they know of 3, but they know that Xindi talked about there being 5.
Yeah.
And there was a 6, but we'll find that out later this season. He talks about where that they had been last. So they end up going to this planet. Because I just want to point this out. They go to this planet because they're trying to track down where the Xindi had been, because they had the records from the Raiders in the previous episode. But I don't think that they get any information, or that this little trip to this planet bears any kind of fruit in this investigation, right? Am I wrong about that? Or
Well, they find the
Xindi shuttle.
Xindi shuttle, so I guess we're to believe that the ones that were eradicated in the teaser were the Xindi.
Xindi arboreals, more specifically.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
She also points out, well, we don't know the Xindi are there, and he goes, well, we don't know they're not there.
We don't know they're not there. And she goes, we don't know. She also says that, we don't know that the Xindi arboreals were part of the attack on Earth. It could have just been Xindi reptilians. And he also says, we also don't know that they were involved, So just getting like super annoyed with T'Pol is always like, we don't.
Archer is not like, he's not relaxing at all in this whole season. He's just
nope
going crazy. Yep.
He's going deliberately curmudgeon-y. His cortisol levels are very high, and
I would agree.
I think he's not doing well. Anyway, he's like, get Travis to set a course for this planet, and so they do. And then they get here. I guess some time has passed because T'Pol has changed outfits.
And her chair is very, very far away from where she's working.
Yes. that chair can move, right? It's on like tracks.
I would hope so. Because if not, their engineers suck.
Yeah. Yeah. She looks like that's not good posture there, T'Pol.
We already know this, Kevin. Remember the whole episode about, the captain's chair?
Right.
Yeah. My chair. You may have noticed I don't sit in it too much. Anyway, so they talk about this. They're going to land in this particular region where the Xindi shuttle is. I think they said there's a lot of plant life here, but they don't detect any humanoids. So they head on down. The away team consists of Archer, Reed, Hoshi, and T'Pol.
I must say that Linda Park does a great job as that alien.
Yes, I would think her physical acting was her
incredible.
movements. Yeah, that was my highlight of this episode. How these, how the 3 of them really, but her in particular.
Okay, before you get to that though, were you guys at all annoyed by Reed's like over exaggeration of swinging his rifle and that flashlight around? Did you guys notice that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Reed, I wasn't super keen on Reed before he turned into this weird alien in this episode. Not just in general, but
where are the Marines? I mean, honestly, we have Marines now.
You have the Makos. Like, they're not busy, are they? Like, they were. You could bring one. You could have brought one.
They have one job, and this is it, and they're not there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They find some corpses here. Presumably these are the ones we saw in the opening who got charred. And there's only here that Archer goes, oh yeah, this whole area has been torched. But it's kind of like they're a little bit slow here to kind of figure it out. It's I guess at this point they've all been infected and don't know it. And they're all getting transformed. I like what Reed says here. He says, I never cared much.
I never much cared for the tropics.
He's never cared much for the tropics. He says, because she says, are you okay? And then T'Pol starts to notice something here. We see things from her point of view. And then we see that her face is starting to mutate. And she's aware of it, but it's happening to the 3 humans much faster, and whereas her immune system's able to come out of it. And here we start to see this makeup. Here we see Dominic Keating with this whatever this alien was called, and coming out here. We see it start to affect Archer. And his eyes.
Of course,
change.
It's going to hit Reed first as well, guys. Like, of course, it's going to hit him first.
Of course, yeah. No, he wants to be infected. It's his fate. It's his destiny as a Navy man. And so, yeah, do you guys like this? How we kind of they've done this a few times where they kind of go inside and they show us the heartbeats or whatever.
And the ribs all got thicker and 3 hearts emerged.
Yeah, we saw different organs growing, and yeah, and then and T'Pol calls up to Enterprise, and who's in command? Mayweather.
What? How did this happen?
I don't know.
Well, Trip is really in command. He's just not on the bridge.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. She tries to tell.
He's not where he's supposed to be, Kevin, is what you're saying.
Yeah. That is usually a starting point. But yeah, she's starting to deal with Captain Archer, now transformed. And he comes at her, speaking this gibberish alien language, which they haven't translated yet. And she stuns him with the phase pistol. And then I think Hoshi comes out here, and we see her she's transformed now, and we get a bit of a girl fight between T'Pol and Hoshi.
Yeah. So to your point, Kevin, I mean, so Hoshi's had barely any lines in any episodes for a long time now, and now she doesn't even speak English.
I thought that too. I was like, oh, she's finally in an episode. Oh, and they change her completely, and she doesn't speak the language. That's fucking great.
Yeah. Her skills would have come in handy here, but yeah, so they make her part of the transformed. And then and then T'Pol runs away here from them, and then I guess she falls, and does she get knocked out? Is that what happens here? I couldn't quite figure out how she goes from falling on the ground, and then she's tied up, and she's in this thing.
I think
she did. She passed out. Yeah.
Yeah, something with the virus. I don't think anything physical happened.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so they have her in this. It's almost like in Star Wars where they had Han Solo. The Ewoks had Han Solo tied up. And they were about to roast him over the fire. This is what it kind of reminded me of. And she's tied up here. But she's not as transformed, and they're all speaking the clickety clack language or whatever it is, making these weird popping sounds. This is an interesting makeup, I gotta say, that they went with in this season, or this particular episode. Sorry.
Yeah, that membrane is kind of creepy.
The membrane on the side, this thing down here. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. It's I think it's CGI'd at time or something. It's something else. Yeah, but it was interesting just watching Linda Park and Dominic Keating and Scott Bakula do this, and getting to play differences in their characters. I think in particular, I think we talked about Linda Park, but I really did enjoy what Scott Bakula was kind of doing with it, but it also made me laugh too. Maybe that's part of the reason I was enjoying it, because he was just so.
Yeah, it's one of the first episodes he's been good in.
Yeah, because he's doing something completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not as convincing as Linda Parks, which also makes it.
She steals the show for that. Like you said, her physical acting is incredible in this. The way she stands, even.
Yeah, the way she moves her hips.
Yeah.
And look, her dialogue too, but it's more so the physical versions and how she emotes through that makeup, which was impressive. And so T'Pol trying to reason with them. I think she has to convince, to use the universal translator here to get it away from Hoshi, which takes some coercing. But Archer seems even though he's been transformed, he's still kind of Archer, or he kind of remembers who he used to be, or has this his captain morality seems.
Yeah, he still responds to Captain.
Yeah. He's you can keep calling me Captain, everybody.
Well, I think honestly, it's respect that T'Pol's offering him, regardless, and clearly he's the leader. Even in his state.
Yeah, it's it's almost. This almost reminds me of zombies in some ways in this episode too, and I remember Bub the zombie from Day of the Dead, who was could kind of remember his old life or stuff like that, and that's kind of what I felt it was a little bit in this too. Anyway, she gets the universal translator, And when she finally gets it from T'Pol finally gets it from them, and she's like, talk. And they're just like, they won't talk. They just start growling at this point. She's like, talk. But anyway, we have to cut away because apparently that took a while for it to work out. Back up on Enterprise, we find that Phlox is saying, yeah, I can detect one Vulcan, but I can't detect the humans. And they're like, well, where are our people? How, Trip, of course, going mad. He doesn't like when he can't find Archer. He gets very distressed. We know this.
He does, but you know what? This is the time he actually shows restraint. He's not rushing in like he normally would.
True. Although Phlox does say, like, I'd like to run some more tests and scans before you try to go down there because we don't know how this thing's transmitted. And Trip eventually just says, we'll go in EV suits, which turns out to be fine. But he doesn't really know what he's getting into at this point.
But you know what? He's making decisions and making things happen. I really like Trip in this episode.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Kevin. I think he's showing leadership again, finally. Yeah. And he's not like, it's not all about the captain, and it's about the crew, right? Very different.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, I think that's been part of his arc, is that he used to just be like this loyal soldier to Archer pretty exclusively, and now he kind of has more connections with the rest of them. So that's a good thing. But yeah, like Trips, he's going to get the Makos, which they and go down, and Phlox is like, all right, go for it. So anyway, they come back, and I think this is the point where they're finally starting to be able to talk to Archer. He's like, Enterprise, what is that? The accent he went with for this was interesting too. Yeah, and just going through it, and Hoshi doesn't want to trust T'Pol. We don't know. We can't trust her. She's not one of us. We don't know what she is. Dominic Keating or Reed here. He's like the creepy, like lieutenant guy. He's like whispering in Archer's ears, because I found it interesting that they still look at Archer as like the alpha of the pack.
Yeah.
Despite,
but I think that's also supported by what T'Pol's doing too. I mean, she's going to him for everything.
True. So like maybe they were just responding to that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But also Archer's strong enough to take away that egg from Reed later on.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he just starts grabbing him here.
Yeah, I was a little wondering where that scene was going to go because he was.
Yeah. Coming in with us now from Nova Scotia, coast to coast. We got Davan Skelhorn.
Nova Scotia to BC.
I dream I was.
You dream of the city. I was there. Thousands of us. Davan, how are you doing tonight?
Better than this episode.
What did you like this part here where Reed ran up the tree to get
He just jumped up there real quick, right?
Jumped up the tree. And
No, not really.
These egg things come down. There's only two of them. And
yeah,
then Archer,
Linda Park gets hers.
Linda Park gets hers. She starts mowing into it. It does look like a plastic egg, I got to tell you, but it's okay.
Looks like Tin Man.
Yeah,
little version.
Almost looks like live Tespa.
Looks like live Tespa as well, like on Cardassia. It's got just these maggots in there with some, I don't know what else they did there, but it looks not too good.
Those are real maggots. I'll tell you right now. They went to the pet store and got maggots.
But what's the? You think they added like this green looking slime in there too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not good for the maggots, but cares about maggots.
Yeah, especially when you're eating them. I hope she didn't really eat them. Although we did say we did like Linda Park's physical acting quite a bit in this episode, Davan. Like she's very interesting with how
she's a good actress. They just don't do enough with her series.
Dominic Keating was interesting.
I got the eggs, and you're not giving me any.
I got the eggs from the tree. I'm like, can you guys not get a third egg for so you can all have your own egg or whatever? But Linda Park is just kind of watching this, like maybe trying to see which of the males will come out dominant in this little meeting of the horns. And Archer just starts throwing them around here. This was like a species that was pretty advanced, right? Because the whole idea of this mutagenic virus was like their species was going to die out, and so they invented this to sort of turn people into their species. But yeah, they're also kind of animalistic, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
In how they behave. Why is she's down there? Oh yeah, and he takes the rock. And then,
that's him. That's Dominic Keating on the ground.
that's Dominic Keating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Archer wins the fight. I couldn't get a lot of screenshots from the fight. It's just a very fast, weird kind of fight. And then he breaks open the rock, the egg thing, and he's ready to eat all the maggots. And then he looks up. He's like, "Oh, but poor you, T'Pol. You're my buddy. You gotta have some. You want some of the maggots? I'm not hungry.
I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah. He eventually okay, whatever. And then how he just squirms up here can I please have some? And he's just like, fine, take some. He's like, I got the egg in the first place. Anyway, so Trip and one Mako are in the other shuttle pod, searching the forest here, trying to find the crew. We see Daniel Day Kim. He's back. I guess it's two Magos in the pod here, and T'Pol's like, it's Enterprise. They're looking for us, but they're not feeling it. It's the sky ship is coming down here. They're in their EV suits. They're looking around for the crew. I did like seeing the night vision a little bit through these aliens, how they could kind of see the thermal and whatever, and how they can see much better in the dark than the humans can, or the Vulcans. Yeah, and then we see one of these Marines, I think, gets knocked out, presumably by Reed or Hoshi. Trip catches up here, and then I think this is where Reed jumps out of the jungle here and tries to attack, I think, Trip, and he just gets phasered and knocked down, and then Trip or the Archer attacks then him, hits him with this post. We see fighter Archer. Wait, I should delete more screenshots here. Yeah, boom. Yeah, he almost cracks Trip's helmet open here. And then T'Pol kind of comes to the rescue and kind of she says, "You know me." There's everything in this episode is about the connection between T'Pol and Archer. A lot of it seems to focus between these two specifically.
And Archer's Trip is what the hell's going on down here, right?
Yeah, and then she says, I'm going to stay with them. You take Reed with you. Right? But what we find out is that this is a mistake, is that she really should go back with them because we find out it's her
She's
DNA.
pure.
Yeah. Well, she's the cure, so we need her. But they end up taking Reed back. They put him in the isolation chamber. He's climbing the walls, literally. And this is where we get the exposition here with T'Pol and Trip, where Phlox and Trip, where he explains this virus and how it turns people into another species. Then we get a call from the bridge. Trip is called there by Mayweather when we find out two alien ships.
And you can just see his expression. It's oh God, what now?
Yeah.
I don't have time.
I'm an engineer. Yeah, so the two alien ships, who we're never told the name of these aliens. They show up, and we see in many episodes, they're just grumpy. They don't, they're just you're in restricted space. You're in our space.
Everybody in the Expanse is grumpy, Dave. Everybody in the Expanse.
Everybody in the Expanse, but you see this in all the time in Star Trek, where the aliens are, you're in our territory, you have to leave, and then they go, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't know it was your territory. This seems to come up all the time. Davan, one thing we were talking about is the fact that why wasn't there a buoy in orbit? If this is such a big deal, or in the solar system,
I know nobody uses buoys except for the Federation, basically. So,
yeah. It's just they wait for somebody to show up just so they can fly over and say, hey, you're not supposed to be here. We know we never told you, but you're not supposed to. Anyway, what do you guys think of this
territory?
Yeah, this alien captain guy.
Pretty generic.
Very generic.
It's like he got like a Roman outfit and just put a big emblem on his chest or something. Hey guys, before I go, because I have to go, I just want to just 2 fun facts.
Well, yeah. You know what? Before you go, we better get your rating too.
I'm giving it a 5.
That's generous.
Well, yeah, I'm giving it a 5. But listen to this. But hold on a second. Okay, she's talking.
Flight 8278, the flight is quite full. If anyone wants to check in, turn on.
I'll come right back, Dave.
All right, no problem. All right,
Okay,
we'll go back.
Quiet. She's quiet. Okay, real quick. So LeVar Burton, who plays LaForge in Next Gen, went to producers and told him he was ashamed that he had directed this episode.
It's bad.
And then 10 years after this episode aired, Brandon Braga called Extinction one of the singularly most embarrassing episodes of Star Trek I was ever involved with. So,
oh no, there's way worse.
No,
I can think of
there's
many.
no code of honor.
I can think of many episodes that Brandon Braga is directly involved with that he should be more ashamed of than this.
Well, yeah.
Like this.
Threshold.
Anyway, I'll see you guys. Take care.
Yeah.
All the best.
Yeah, Adam.
See you, Adam.
Good flight.
Yeah. In particular, Threshold, because like didn't you learn your lesson from Threshold? This is a little bit in that vein, although it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same as any of the previous, the crew gets turned into an alien episodes that we've seen in various Star Treks before. Okay, back to the planet where after, by the way, Trip told the alien captain guy, you have a big fight if you try to board our ship. And so I guess the alien captain reads it here. Here we got, is this where they go into the caves? This is where like Archer as this alien, this is the dream sequence. Now I'm remembering. This is like when he's having the dream. Yeah. And we kind of see that there was like this underground city that these aliens used to live in. And I was like, but why are they all not weird looking alien guys going, they look like just like people from what I could tell. I feel like we could have seen more here, but we got the bad CGI people, and Jody's not here to tell me I'm not allowed to comment on bad CGI people. But guess what? He's not here. So
and they were bad.
They were very bad, especially since they're supposed to be like these like monkey people who like climb trees and do like, I'm like, this looks lame as hell. Like, anyway, so Archer's looking out there, and then, his worst nightmare, real Archer's here.
That made no real sense to me.
No, I didn't really get that either. But then he wakes up.
LeVar agreed to direct this, so
yeah. Well, I was just saying, I'm like, he's directed some really bad episodes and he's directed some really good episodes, and I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason or how much influence a director even has on an episode, but with all that in mind, but it is what it is. It largely just comes down to writing in these TV shows, and who did write this episode? Is it Brandon Braga? No, it's Andre Bormanis wrote this.
Okay. He's their science guy. He's more of a science guy than a writer. TNG used him as the science consultant.
Yeah. Well,
I don't start writing stories.
I don't know how scientific.
He has written a couple good ones, though.
I don't think we've had all bad Andre Bormanis episodes. All right. Certainly, I don't think of his name as writing the terrible episodes. And I've seen there have been worse episodes of Enterprise than this.
For sure.
I would say.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if there has.
Well, what's your big beef with the episode, Davan?
It's just boring and pointless.
Well,
I understand
that's not a
episodes,
sin in itself.
But I usually really enjoy bottle episodes. They didn't need to take a break from the Xindi plot, but they do a few times in this season, and the other times work better than this.
Yeah, I think
I just didn't find any other caveman stuff interesting. I didn't find any of those scenes compelling or anything.
No,
this guy I didn't care about. It's just a whole lot of nothing for me.
I just liked seeing Linda Park do something fun.
If it was fun, though, I would have enjoyed it. I agree she did well. It was good body acting, but
but this alien guy, this captain, and I guess the only thing I could really look at this episode back was post-pandemic, post-COVID, looking at sort of how you think about diseases and eradicating them, and how when this captain is explaining how there was like somebody got back on his home world and it nearly wiped them out. And so what did he say? Like they killed like 10 million people on their own planet that were infected with this virus, and they're like, that sounds harsh. And he's like, well, that's how it goes. And then he gets
we know.
Yeah, we know. Anyway, he gets the call here from his species. He's like, let me because he doesn't like the fact that Reed is in the isolation chamber. Like, they just basically want to kill the aliens and move on here, or kill the Enterprise crew. I'm sorry, not the aliens, or the crew turned into aliens. But Phlox needs more time, and then he needs that DNA from T'Pol, and this is where Trip goes on this run. He runs through the ship really fast so he can get to the Bidden Peach.
My favorite is when he's running through the corridor and nobody's moving out of his way.
Yeah,
like
he is like the third in command on this ship, right?
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah. All right. So I guess, but it was also odd to me that like Phlox wouldn't have any of her DNA on hand, or maybe you need decay cells more specifically. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway, so then next
in this episode,
we get this next scene here where it's T'Pol and there's Hoshi going into, like, I guess, find the underground city that we saw in the dream here. But they don't find it. Instead, they find the ruins, and they find this old dead body. But it's not an ancient body, as Archer will point out. Because when they look down, we see that city we saw in the dream is now just all ruins, destroyed long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Sad for these this sad face. And looking back here, it's like there's a lot of, I don't know. I actually thought Scott Bakula's acting wasn't that bad here too. I thought he was trying to like show like the sadness of losing this civilization, like at least in terms of what his implanted memories of this are. And T'Pol trying to get to him, but then he's becoming more suspicious and not liking this. I don't know. And then he starts choking her out. That was rougher.
There's a lot of long scenes like this.
Yeah. He's choking her. After he stops, he's like, we got to leave here. There's kind of this moment where Hoshi looks at the choked out T'Pol and then walks away. I don't know what was meant to be conveyed there. And then, anyway, so that we see these aliens, these unnamed aliens in their green light encounter suits show up. We see that they see like Hoshi and Archer and them like running away, like over here sort of thing. And so they're like, we got to get them with our flamethrower suits. Catch up to them pretty quickly here as they're like running through these caves. Archer gets the drop on one of them and manages to this is where he tears the guy's suit, I guess, because Archer's about to kill him with the rock, but T'Pol talks him down, and he doesn't kill him with the rock, but this guy ends up dying anyway because he's like, I guess there's a little tear in his suit, and his buddies show up and they see him transforming, and they just torch him. But Davan, I know I'm asking for logic about an episode that doesn't make much sense, but why? Okay, these aliens, why don't they just torch the entire planet?
Kill all the people?
No, but there's no people on this planet. It's just why did they leave this planet with this jungle that can infect you with this virus, this mutagenic virus? And if they
they should either quarantine it entirely and never go there.
Yeah, but even so, but their friend here who's on the planet, or Archer, or any of them, anybody who's on the planet and infected already, what's the harm in leaving them there?
Oh, I guess you could see that as just proliferating the virus, and maybe they want to come back eventually, or who knows what their long game is with this planet.
Well, who knows? Indeed, clearly, I don't think they thought it through. But I was like, if you're gonna,
I don't think they did either.
I'm like,
They need to Cisco that planet.
Yeah, you could.
Just go take care of business.
Commander,
Just go.
I said launch torpedoes.
Yeah, like you could just obliterate this planet. You could literally scorch it, and then nobody would beam down to get infected, unless these aliens want to study this from an archaeological point of view or something. But like,
I think they just like burning people to death once in a while.
well, that's a good theory too. These unnamed aliens, but they don't want to, they know that T'Pol is resistant, and so they're not trying to kill T'Pol here. They keep trying to like instead of just torching them on sight, they're trying to like get T'Pol and protect her here so they can maybe study her and why she's resistant to the virus. But Archer's he's a great warrior in any alien DNA, whether it be human or not. Although they eventually take him down. Hoshi's all defensive of him here. And then Trip and the Mako beam down. They just phaser these guys. The flamethrowers. Don't bring a flamethrower to a phaser fight. That's what I say. And yeah, and the Mako. This is the other thing we were complaining about before you joined, Davan, was like they have these Makos who their main point is to go on like missions and stuff. Like they didn't take a Mako in the first place in the initial shuttle pod. That didn't make sense to us. But
the only thing you can give that, and I agree with you, but they've shown they don't really like the Makos. They think they're better at all this space stuff, and they'd rather probably do it themselves.
Yeah.
Eventually he starts using the Makos. Don't worry, he starts using the Makos a lot.
Yeah. Well, he didn't bring them on this particular mission, but yeah. But yeah, I think I understand the tension particularly with Reed and the Makos, and maybe the rest of Reed's security team. I'm not sure, but anyway, so I don't know. T'Pol like appeals here to Archer, and he ends up going up in the shuttle pod with them, and they're able to get it going. And then we get to see like other officers here. Even this guy who's filling in at Hoshi's post, he has like lines. I was like shocked. I was like,
more than Mayweather.
More than Mayweather usually gets in a given episode.
Mayweather never gets anything, man.
Yeah, and Mayweather, I didn't mind it, but Mayweather's in the chair, but then he kicks out the relief pilot, and he's like, no, I'll take the con. I got this. I'm like, what?
That was odd.
You're supposed to be in command on the bridge, Mayweather. Like, you don't trust your boy there to like fly the ship? What kind of boss are you? That's what I say. Anyway, so they warp away. So there's a bit of a high speed chase, a warp speed chase, with these two alien ships and Enterprise, where they're following it here. Tucker gets up to the bridge here, and yeah, it's kind of like just a shoot 'em fight. They start firing at him. Yeah, here's the guy relieving Hoshi, also an ensign, same rank. I haven't seen this guy before, but he's coming in. Oh, look at that! Look at Trip in that chair. He's commanding.
Looks like he's fallen out of it.
Yeah, and they take a good shot here. I think their hull plating starting to buckle. Let's get them on the comms, and they're like, "You drop out of warp so we can kill all you people." And then they're like, "Well, just look what we got here. It's Archer."
And then the episode is over.
Yeah, the episode is basically over. Archer is like, look, Phlox is like, "Look, I just cured these people. I was able to synthesize an antidote using a bitten peach that was coming through." Anyway, so this is convincing enough to these aliens who are not quite evil, but also are kind of evil. I don't know what the hell their deal is.
They're just driven. They're just driven.
Nobody does, including the writer.
Yeah. And so there we see here. I guess Reed was the last to get like treatment. He was the. I would have thought that like he would have tested the cure on Reed first before he gave it to Archer and Hoshi, but I guess not.
Maybe he knew Archer would want to be the first test.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and it was like this. If this does kill you, I would be granting Reed's death wish, and that would be against the code of Denoblian medical ethics. So anyway, the cross pass here between Reed and Archer, and Archer's like, "Why don't you take a couple of days off?" I'm like, "You think?" Like you seem to spend most of your time.
Denoblian.
I just might.
Yeah.
which is fun.
Okay. Now the ending of this episode here, where they said, "Okay, he gives like the virus here to Archer, and Archer looks at it and it's like the entire culture is trapped inside of this virus, or that these aliens went out. Their species went extinct, hence the name Extinction. So it's kind of a little bit like the episode where Picard gets like that inner light, where he gets the flash from the thing and he learns to play the
Yeah.
flute and all that crap. And I guess they're trying to say like this is like the last memory here, although they don't like everyone getting infected and turned into aliens and eating maggots out of egg things, but they would, I guess, like to go here. So that he's like, take it away and save it, put it in like the stasis or something, Phlox. And he's just like, this is kind of dumb, but okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
like
go along.
why keep it? Are you going to turn people into that
guess-
species? Like, why keep it?
I guess like maybe he's thinking like that they can maybe in time figure out how to use this to get the information out of it. Like maybe there's
Give
information in
them
the
all
box.
shitty android bodies too, like Picard.
Maybe. I don't know. Like but it goes inside of this like, what is this? Like a 3D printer? What was this? It looks like
That's
something
the thing
they
Moriarty was in.
It's in the Moriarty was in. And that's the end of the episode. In loving memory of Jerry Fleck. And
Poor
maybe
guy.
that's a good segue because I don't know who Jerry Fleck is. Are you guys ready for some fun facts or some details discovered with Dave?
He was the writer they put to death. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so this episode was dedicated to the memory of Jerry Fleck, the show's first assistant director. This was the last episode on which he worked before dying in his sleep at the age of 55. Oh,
This
okay.
episode killed him.
But he did work on it. Oh, that's sad. Okay, this would be like it'd be great to work on Star Trek as an assistant director, but imagine this is like your last episode. That's disappointing. This episode saw the series title change from Enterprise to Star Trek Enterprise in the opening credits. Well, we knew that already. This episode shares similar plot elements to Next Generation's Identity Crisis, where Geordi LaForge is transformed into another species in an extremely short time span, as well as the Next Generation episode Genesis, where everyone got turned into like different aliens, or Barclay got turned into a spider. 2 flamethrowers used in this episode were auctioned off at the big Star Trek auction they did like 15 years ago. Ensign Mayweather enjoys a brief period as a ranking bridge officer on the Enterprise when all his seniors are off the ship in the 4th act. Well, we noticed it. And then he didn't even stay in the chair. And then a bunch of costumes were auctioned off. According to TrekWeb, LeVar Burton went to the producers and told them he was ashamed that he had been directed this episode. And as was mentioned by Adam, Brandon Braga called this the singularly most embarrassing episode of Star Trek he's ever been involved with. But it's not true, Brandon Braga. There's worse. It's not good, but like I think he's been in part of more egregious episodes. That's all I got.
I gotta go. Baby needs me.
Oh, okay.
All
Thanks for being with us, Davan.
Yeah, no worries, sorry, man. I'm feeling generous. I'll give this a 2. All right.
You had already given it a 3.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling generous. 2.
Okay. All right. On that
Yeah.
note,
Yeah.
it's time for us to rate this, Kevin. So we know our associates here are not too fond of the episode. Do you want me to go first? Or-
I didn't hate it. I hated the end of it, but I
Yeah.
was enjoying it in the beginning, so I'm gonna give it a 5. There were elements. I liked Trip in command. I thought he was good, and there were things I liked. It's
Yeah.
not great, but
I'm with you. I'm going 5 something. Not high. I don't know. 5.1. Let's go that.
it's was the fucking Price is Right, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, our collective rating is a 4 tonight. This does have a 6 on IMDb. So yeah, LeVar Burton, Andre Bormanis. I just want to remember what else Andre Barmanis has written. He wrote Horizon, which we also didn't like.
Yeah, that was bad.
He wrote the teleplay on this episode, 6.4, Communicator. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this Andre Barmanis is not a good writer. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. I was looking for something that might redeem him there, but not seeing it. Okay, so and this is normally where I was Jody. What's coming next, Jody? Jody's not here, so I'll go.
Next episode, it's called. Starts with an F.
Rajin. With an R. It starts with an R.
R.
Rajai.
Ragin.
Ragin. Okay, what's the premise here? Enterprise takes on board Ragin, a beautiful enigmatic passenger with ulterior motives. Okay.
That doesn't sound fantastic either.
No, it doesn't sound fantastic, does it? It sounds
I thought
like
this was supposed to be the Xindi arc.
it's supposed to be, but I'm like, what? This is like the slowest. Like, let's get off the ground here, guys. Like, can we get going? Nikita.
Although Deep Space Nine does this with the Dominion War too. You'll get like 6 episodes in a row where there's almost nothing.
Yeah, I guess why I think it works better when Deep Space Nine does it is because it's a station and there's all these comings and goings, and they just have this deep bench of characters.
Yes, so many characters,
and it works so well for them because it's a space station. I think because like when we watched the Far Beyond the Stars a couple weeks ago in Deep Space Nine, and like, you know, Penny Johnson comes in, Cassidy Yates. Like, when was the last time we had seen Cassidy Yates before that episode? But she comes in and it's like, oh yeah, Cassidy's here. It doesn't, you know, and it's like it's seamless. Where I think with a starship show where the ship moves around all the time, like in Enterprise, you know, you can't do that. But that's why it's so much more criminal to me that they don't use like Hoshi and Mayweather and Reed more.
Right, they have such few characters, and yet they only use 3 of them really.
Yeah, they barely use Phlox. I feel like in these 3 seasons, he's barely had much to do. I think the fact that this chef is never seen, I'm like, make him a character. Make it the chef a person on the ship. Like, you can have more characters, like, but instead they tend to just give way more dialogue to either to Paul or Archer or Trip, primarily. You know, instead, and I think that's kind of where I don't even think they were trying to replicate Deep Space Nine, and maybe we're going to feel differently, you know, by the end of this Xindi arc and say that was pretty good. But then I want us to come back to this moment and say, why were we mucking around in the woods, you know, getting turned into aliens when they, you know, Earth's apparently going to be attacked and obliterated by these Xindi? You know, maybe we don't need these side adventures. The only rationale I can think is they're like 24 episodes is a lot. Let's just pace ourselves. Fair enough, but I feel like you could maybe not do these little whatevers. Like, not that if they had done this episode in the 2nd season, I think I would have liked it better.
Yeah,
you know, I just feel like the timing of it, I'm like, why now? You know, unless they were just sitting on the script and
at least they mentioned the Xindi in this.
Yeah, they're like, we're still looking for them, but you know, looking for those leads. I guess they don't want it to be easy, and fair enough. And when you think about the Dominion War in Deep Space Nine, that they took their time with that. You know?
Oh yes,
big.
It's
time.
surprising actually now going through it week to week again, just how long it takes for that story to unfold. I always think of season 6 as being like all Dominion War, and it's almost not at all.
Yeah, they'll have like an episode like with the with Quark, like who mourns for Morn, that has nothing to do with the Dominion, or stuff like that, or Magnificent Frankie did a little bit, but like, you know, the wedding episode, there's a few ones like that. Anyway, and speaking of which, tomorrow we'll be talking about the next episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. What are we doing tomorrow after One Little Ship?
The Orion one, O'Brien and the Orion.
Honor Among Thieves. Yes.
Yeah. So another episode that has zero to do with anything.
Really?
that's
Yeah. It's
going
not like,
on.
oh, well, we got to come back to this storyline with the Orion Syndicate. It's like this whole.
And it doesn't even do the deep bench of characters. It's just O'Brien.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow night. It's not my favorite episode ever by any means.
No, it's definitely a weird one.
Yeah, but we'll see. Maybe the panel will feel differently, or we'll see. We'll find something else about.
Would have made
it
a better next gen episode rather than Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, well, again, it's like one of those episodes I feel like you could give to any show. Sometimes that's for worse. Why am I still a Karen? I gave this episode a 5.1. But, you know. Keeps happening. No new Star Trek shows being reviewed right now but Picard will be back, I think, February 16th. So we're not too far away from that. Actually, I guess that's only maybe 2 or 3 weeks away. So we'll be picking up season 3. You can be back for that one, Kevin, you think?
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. It's
see.
a while away. I know Davan's in for that one, and we'll be covering that. And then I think Star Trek Discovery after that, and probably Strange New Worlds. So lots coming up here on Live Long and Podcast in our reviews. That's our Red Division. Check out that. We also have our Science Division, where Davan does things like debates and trivia and Class L probes. He also leads the Locutors of Trek Division, which does like more long format Star Trek podcasts, answering the more philosophical questions. Very good stuff. And our Gold Division, Operations Division, which does things like Star Trek Radio Theater, or we might be like playing video games online, like Star Trek Online, or whatever, things of that nature. So check out all the great stuff here on Live Long and Podcast, a great community of Star Trek podcasters. As well, look out for our affiliates in the United Federation of Podcasts. You can check us out at ufpodcast.com. Most notably, we got a bunch. We got ones like Trivial Debates, and coming up this Sunday, it's the battle you've all been waiting for. Jaemeel Robinson hosting with Josh Foster, Jeff Mader, and myself competing in at 10 a.m. Eastern on that channel. It will be very reality show themed. We got Big Brother, Survivor, different reality shows. We'll be pitching a sitcom a new reality show based on a current sitcom or something. Watch out for that. I'll be coming for
you. You guys are going to have to bring it with Jaemeel.
I know. He's a tough judge. He's a tough judge. But I'm having lunch with Foster tomorrow, and then I was like, just like a reality show, Jaemeel, I'm going to gamify for this. I'm going to create an alliance with Foster against Jeff. So get out of these twists. I don't know if I'll get points for creativity or not with that, but we'll see. Probably not with Jaemeel. Yeah, Jameel's tough. You got to really earn.
You got to really bring it. Yeah, he expects greatness.
He does. He wants greatness. He wants it all, and who can blame him? Other UF podcasts include the KBBBL on Fridays with Davan. That's a Simpsons podcast where they go through all the episodes. He's got buddies Francis and Baker there. They're still in season 1. The Super Mader Brothers podcast. We are brothers! Talking about reality TV shows and other TV shows like Marvel as well. We have the Mary Mader Marvel Society, led with myself and Jaemeel and Davan. We're going to be talking about Ant-Man next. There's the Hellbound podcast Wednesdays that comes out with Alex Blackburn, Michael Chan. It's a horror-themed podcast. Check that one out. As well as X-Rated, the X-Men The Animated Review Show with Davan and Andre. That's usually on Tuesdays, but they did one tonight. The Graphic History podcast, which comes out, that's from Andre, who's from the X-Men as well. And he puts that out where he interviews people from the film industry, as well as people who do graphic novels and things of that nature. And Hold Up, a movie podcast every second Wednesday with Murphy and Davan, where I think they're doing war movies this Wednesday. A Bridge Too Far, The Bridge Over the River Kwai, and 1917, I believe, are the 3 movies they're going to be looking at. So check them out. Lots of great stuff going on here on the United Federation of Podcasts. And on that note, I think we can say goodnight for this one. Thanks to Kevin, thanks to Adam, and to Davan, who were with us, and all the people in the comments and watching live and afterwards. Live long and podcast, and we'll be back next week with Raijin, I guess. All right. See you next time.
Enterprise. Yes, it's your ship. You're the captain.